Good afternoon once again. So Wednesday, the 26th of May, 2021. This is the English language summary of the daily press briefing here at the Center for COVID Situation Administration, or CCSA, as always. So firstly, thank you to Dr. Tui Sin, who gave us the briefing just now. Just one point where he ended with, which is very important, is about the adjustment in the vaccine distribution in terms of the various provinces. A slight adjustment in the vaccine supply configuration that is supplied to various provinces. Now, there is that need to adjust this in terms of sending it to each province because of various factors. The first factor is, of course, the infection rate, which is changing on a daily basis. The second is, of course, the risk factors, the risk groups that have emerged. Risks have emerged in various groups, like those in the transportation sector and the like. And of course, those provinces which have a high bearing on the economy and on tourism of Thailand as well. So because of these factors, the vaccination distribution of the vaccines, the supply of the vaccines will be adjusted slightly in terms of the distribution in each province. Now, this has been conveyed to the various provinces, and the appropriate adjustments will be made in this regard. So I'd like to start off first with the number of cases that we have recorded for today. Firstly, start with new recoveries. We have 2,571 persons who have recovered from COVID recorded for today. New confirmed case, we have a slightly lower number of additional cases, which is 2,455, as you see on screen. Out of this number, 2,455, we have 1,960 cases that are from local transmission, 16 from overseas infection, and 479 from within the penitentiaries. So we have active cases currently being treated is 45,256, as you see on screen. Unfortunately, we have recorded 41 new fatalities, making the cumulative 873 so far. So just some observations from the briefing of Dr. Tui Sin regarding Bangkok first. He gave us an overall picture of the situation in Bangkok. And you see there on screen one of the infographics he showed in Thai of the distribution of the intensity of the cases in the various districts in Bangkok. Now, the overall situation nationally continues to see an upward trend. That has been the case for the past week. The active clusters in Bangkok, in the Bangkok metropolitan area in particular, are still mostly concentrated in construction workers' campsites, all of which now have been put in the bubble and seal strategy, with active case findings, active case finding missions being conducted in all areas that have been infected. And markets will continue to be targets of these active case finding. So this is the map of Bangkok's districts, wherein we have singled out each district that have high cases of infections. But nevertheless, the active case finding missions are directly targeted in those particular districts. Another important piece of information that was delivered by Dr. Tui Sin just now is about the news, the allegation that the CCSA is concealing information, particularly of the number of people, of fatalities, of those who have died. Now, to reiterate that this is definitely not true, I'll give one example. Dr. Tui Sin gave an example of a case of death in Srisaket province, wherein the deceased person had lung infection. Now, when the case was reported, the authorities have to bring the information through the Provincial Committee on Disease Control in order to verify the cause of death, whether the cause of death of that particular person, an elderly person, unfortunately, whether the cause of death is actually from lung infection or from COVID. So there is actually some lead time, some time that has to be used to confirm the case of fatality and the causes of that particular case. So that might have been the cause of misunderstanding that this particular death or any particular case of death had not been reported to the CCSA. There might be some gap time, and then when that has all been proven, that particular case will be added to the number of fatalities recorded for each particular day. Just additional information that might be useful to the English language audience. Just first, some health guidelines for markets. Because of the clusters found in markets, the CCSA has recommended measures and guidelines for the general public when visiting markets, such as that the vendors should provide enough space for ventilation. Make sure of that when you visit the stalls. And they also should provide tracking and tracing purposes information for that in case of an outbreak to the management of the markets. Regularly clean surfaces, floors, screening points, limit the number of visitors, and the like. And you can see that on screen, courtesy of the Public Relations Department. Also on the COVID variants of concern. As I mentioned, after our briefing, usually we have a program, a talk show type program, wherein we have experts coming in. And the past few days we had experts and senior officials, such as the Director General of the Medical Sciences Department, and those programs were in Thai. So just a summary of one of those programs regarding COVID variants, wherein the DG of the Medical Sciences Department clarified that the COVID variant of concern, first detected in South Africa, remains concentrated in Tak Bai district in Narathiwat, as you may have heard on the news, and it has not been detected elsewhere in Thailand. Samples have been collected from surrounding provinces of Narathiwat for further sequencing, and those living in Narathiwat and surrounding areas were requested to limit movement so as to prevent the spread. And he also affirmed that vaccines are vital in guarding against all variants of COVID, so the general public is urged to receive the vaccination when they are called upon to do so. Today, Wednesday, is also Vesak Day, or Visakha Busha Day. And as Thailand marks the celebration of Vesak Day today to commemorate the birth of the Lord Buddha, the enlightenment and the attainment of nirvana, Buddhists observing Vesak Day, as different from the past years, 2 years ago, we are invited to listen to Dharma virtually online on Facebook, such as the Facebook page of the Department of Religious Affairs, Ministry of Culture of Thailand, in their Facebook pages. So, of course, this is a new normal way of celebrating the Buddhist religious holiday that is very important to Buddhist countries such as Thailand. Dr. Thuisin also spoke about an issue of mistaken identity, which I'll recap here as well, that yesterday the CCSA briefing mistakenly identified one of the new case of infection as a member of the diplomatic corps based in Bangkok, traveling from India. As a matter of fact, the persons of concern that was reported yesterday in the information were actually Thai nationals, all three Thai nationals, with no relationship to being an Indian national, of course. And that particular person is a Thai national who had been in state quarantine. And the CCSA expresses its apology for any misunderstanding caused in this regard. The information was actually erroneous from the source of the information that we received and conveyed here to the CCSA. And we have already amended that information. So this is the information that I have for you today. Today is Vesak Day. For those observing, please remember to strictly observe social distancing and perhaps perform all these activities online and continue to abide by the DMHTT measures that we have spoken a lot about. So thank you very much. Have a pleasant Vesak Day today. Enjoy the rest of the day. สวัสดีครับ